Hey everybody, we're back in Final Cut for a new tutorial. Today we're going to be talking about how to create titles, where to find titles, how to bring them down to your timeline, a couple of different ways that you can use titles in your timeline, and how to edit your titles. So let's get started. I have a project open, so I've got some raw footage up here in my bin. And I've just got a few clips down on my timeline, just something to work with. I want to create two titles today, so I can show you both ways of doing that. And the first thing you want to do is go into the upper left here, the very upper left of my screen. You've been clicked on the clap stick all this time, and this is where you're able to see your libraries, and inside that, your events with all your raw footage. We're going to move over to the third icon, the last one there, and that is where your titles and generators sidebar will pop up. So I'm going to click on that. Here we go. And you can see when I click on the titles on the sidebar here, there are a whole bunch of options, a whole bunch of them. If you're looking for something specific, like for example, maybe you just want the lower thirds, go ahead and open up that little triangle there. Click on lower thirds, and you'll see, if you're not sure what a lower third is, it's basically, you have somebody on screen and you want to bring up their name and occupation or description, and it takes up the lower third part of your screen for the most part. Sometimes you could do upper thirds as well. But at any rate, these are all your lower thirds. So instead of sifting through 100 titles, you can just work on the lower thirds. And that's exactly what I'm going to do, actually, to start things off with. I'm going to find a nice little lower third. This one here has some really cool movement to it. Others are a little more simplistic, like the side panel lower third here, or rather sliding panel. I'm going to take, let's go with the one just simply called left. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to bring it, in this case, I have a guest here that's talking about skis and skiing and the ski season. I want something to pop up at the bottom there that gives him a name and title. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to take this lower third title that I've chosen, and I'm going to drag it. I'm going to put this on a second track. I'm going to drop it down, and you'll notice now when I hover over that, there's that lower third we were looking for. You could start it at the start of the clip. You can make this longer by grabbing the right edge of that, and that's how you adjust how long it is. I'm a big fan of like 4 to 5 seconds, so I'm going to do that there. Now let's say I want this to be a very specific length of time. I'm going to control click on that title and choose change duration. When I do that, you'll notice in the middle here, in the very middle, this is a 4-second, 3-frame title. Because I chose adjust length, I'm going to actually just type right now. I want it to be exactly 4. So 4, 0, 0. It's 4 seconds, 0 frames. I'm going to hit enter, and now my title has been adjusted to exactly 4 seconds. So that's a couple of ways you can manipulate that. Now, I don't want that title to be called name and description. I want it to actually be his name. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna double click on the title down in my timeline, and what you might have seen up here is that I have my title highlighted now, so I can just start typing. Another spot that I can type in would be here in the upper right in this inspector. I have so many options, and if you're more comfortable typing within here, go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna call him Mr. White Mountains. This isn't my project, so I don't know his name. I don't like the blue on blue S here, so I'm actually going to make this a tiny bit smaller so it all sticks out on the white. And if I wanted to, I can give him a title, expert skier. I can basically do whatever I want here for text. Now, if I go into this inspector again, I can change the font, and as I hover over them, you'll notice that my lower third there in the preview window, it's showing me what the font looks like in real time, which is awesome. So there's no guessing and switching. I can make the in some fonts I can make them bold or italic. I can adjust the size with a slider here. I'm restricted in not going any larger here because of my text box being limited. I kind of like that exact size right there. It's not overwhelming. I can align the text to be left side, right side, centered. I can choose vertical alignment and line spacing, tracking. You know, you can make all kinds of changes in here as you typically would in a Word document. So go ahead and browse through here, see what it is you want to play with, experiment. You can always undo anything you've done by hitting Command Z on your keyboard. Command Z is the undo shortcut, but you can also go to Edit, Undo here. So I kind of like that. I'm going to leave it. Now, that's for a title laid over video. Let's quickly do a title that stands alone. So I'm going to go back to my titles over here. I have a whole bunch of them. I like this one with the kind of wood panel look to it. Let's say I want this to be my introduction title, just before this Martha's Vineyard footage down here on my timeline. Okay, I want it to actually be the first thing that pops up. So what you can do is take that title, and instead of putting it above, like on a second track, put it before or in between or at the end, wherever you want, on your initial track 1 where your video is. When I let go, you'll notice that it's a standalone title by itself, no video running under it. So that's how you make a standalone title. If I double click this, I'm able to change the text here as well as over here in my inspector, and you make all the same changes that I showed you earlier. So I can call this The Many Seasons, and then I'll go ahead and play that back. It's got a really cool look to it. Now what happened was my font is actually too big, so it's being cut off. So I just go in, make sure you highlight the clip on your timeline when you want to make a change later, okay, or else you're not going to be changing anything. Also make sure you hovered over the title. So this playhead right here should be over the title. Have the title highlighted. Now when I make my edits, I can actually see them in real time. So I'm going to take that size, turn it down a notch, and I should be able to fit within that sort of ink puddle opening that is happening there. And that's how you make titles.